It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Wednesday, September 11th. I'm Wendy Corr, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily newsroom, brought to you by Serve Wyoming, Wyoming Center for Volunteerism and AmeriCorps service for the last 30 years. For volunteer opportunities, visit servewyoming.org. A Thermopolis man was killed in an officer and deputy-involved shooting in town on Monday evening, while a police officer and sheriff's deputy have been placed on paid leave. 41-year-old Jared Gatula became the subject of a police welfare check Monday evening when a neighbor saw him thrashing his home and surroundings with a baseball bat while yelling and screaming. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland spoke to that neighbor the night of the shooting.
So Carrie Wilson, her backyard abuts the subject's backyard, and she said it's been years of apparent mental outbursts and him fighting, screaming, yelling with his dad. She was very emotional Monday night, said she was struggling with guilt for calling in the welfare check because it ended so tragically. But she also just said, she was reminding herself why she called in the first place and all of the other people that could have been affected.
Neither the officer nor the deputy were hurt. They're now on paid administrative leave during an investigation into the incident by the Wyoming Division of Criminal Investigation. A man is facing 18 wildlife-related charges based on allegations that he went on a killing spree with a bow in Cody, leaving 9 dead mule deer scattered around town. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that Joshua Weilhauer was arraigned early Tuesday on 9 counts of taking a big game animal without a license and 9 counts of wanton destruction of a big game animal.
Game wardens just started finding a mule deer that had been killed, apparently by a broadhead, lying around. One was even found floating in a pond. I think the final tally was 9 deer, I think 2 bucks, and then 1 fawn, and then the rest were does. These deer had just apparently been shot with a compound bow and left to die and left to lay around Cody.
Cody has a robust urban mule deer herd. It's technically legal to hunt deer with a bow within town limits in Wyoming, but only under special conditions, usually established by local municipal authorities. A grass fire sparked by an intense afternoon thunderstorm Monday afternoon continues to grow and burn about 5 miles southeast of town in Hot Springs County. The fire grew overnight to more than 1,600 acres and is considered 0% contained as of Tuesday afternoon. Cowboy State Daily's Jackie Dorothy reports that the Bureau of Land Management has launched an aerial attack on the fire.
The planes that are going into the rugged terrain are dropping the retardant, and we're just keeping an eye on it. The landowners I've talked to are very confident in the abilities of the firefighters in keeping it away from all the structures and even from the fences that are out in the area. We do have a lot of dry conditions that are occurring out there, so the fire is spreading fast through dry juniper, sagebrush, and even cheatgrass.
The Wyoming State Forestry Division reports that so far about $1 million has been spent fighting what's been named the Warm Springs Fire. Construction on Wyoming's largest Trona mining project is scheduled to begin in mid-2025 with a projected cost of more than $5 billion. The Dry Creek Trona project, proposed by Pacific Soda LLC in Sweetwater County, will employ 2,100 construction workers annually before becoming operational in early 2029. That's according to energy reporter Pat Mayo.
Kind of on an average annual basis, it'll be about 2,200 jobs annually, 2,100, I think. So that's a lot of jobs. On a permanent basis, when this mine opens up in a couple years, 2029, it'll have over 530 jobs permanent. So that's a lot of jobs for Wyoming. I mean, there's data there that shows that employment's going down, mining production's going down. Well, here's an industry that's growing, 530 permanent jobs.
Pacific Soda wants to begin construction of the project in the third quarter of 2025. The DEQ announced plans on Monday to hold a public hearing December 3rd to consider the merits of the project. The group of Republican lawmakers known as the Wyoming Freedom Caucus will have new leadership entering next year's legislative session. The biggest change is the chairman position, which will be filled by State Representative Rachel Rodriguez-Williams of Cody. Politics reporter Leo Wolfson says Representative John Baer of Gillette is stepping down from the role, which he held for 4 years.
He had been chairman since 2020. And during that time, the Freedom Caucus grew with leaps and bounds, going from about 14 or 15 members a few years back up to 26 for the last legislative session. And now it appears they are poised to gain as many as 37 to 38 seats in the House, giving them a majority in that chamber. So it's an interesting shakeup to see.
Rodriguez-Williams was first elected to the legislature in 2020. She won her primary election for a third term in August and is facing no challengers in the November election. Rodriguez-Williams has been one of the leading pro-life voices in the state. And now let's take a look at today's weather with Cowboy State Daily meteorologist Don Day.
Well, the biggest change in the weather today and into tomorrow is going to be out west. The western side of Wyoming is going to see an increase in cloud cover, cooler temperatures, and showers and thunderstorms. This will really be noticeable by this afternoon from Jackson to Cokeville to Kemmer to Evanston up into Yellowstone National Park as a slow-moving system comes out of the Pacific Northwest. The system is going to stall, though, so it'll mainly be western and northwestern Wyoming that sees a cool down and the best chances of rain. Scattered showers and thunderstorms will be found across the rest of the state today, but the amounts of rain will be much less than in the far west. Everybody cools off a bit today and tomorrow, then we're looking at a really nice stretch of weather for Friday and the weekend.
You can get Don's full forecast on the Cowboy State Daily website. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
Your attention is precious. That's why Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming works hard to make navigating your health care easier. Because having the right health insurance means not having to think about it, letting you focus on you. That's the benefit of Blue.
Colorado's wolf reintroduction program has so far been a disaster, but some believe there's a chance it could still work if Wyoming's southern neighbor would follow the Cowboy State's lead. Outdoors reporter Mark Hines spoke to Jerry Whited, an experienced outdoorsman who's lived in Wyoming and in Colorado, and who has watched the process in both states closely.
He said in Wyoming, they were way more open. They were way more open and transparent to the public, a lot of times at their expense. And then there's this perception that Colorado, they're not doing that. They're kind of being a little bit too secretive. And also he said that at some point they're going to have to face the fact that they might have to let ranchers in Colorado do what ranchers in Wyoming are allowed to do, which is if wolves are attacking their livestock, they should just be able to have that option to just shoot the wolves.
Colorado's wolf reintroduction barely squeaked by voters in November of 2020, and their presence has been controversial from the start. Some Centennial State residents hailed it as a restoration of nature's balance, but others, especially ranchers, say that the wolves have been nothing but trouble. A local real estate broker's poking fun at the presidential race has been getting a lot of laughs. It's led to a couple of sales and generated a lot of politically charged text messages. It's a simple joke over the smiling faces of the Republican and Democratic frontrunners. The sign asks, "Moving to Canada?" in giant letters. Underneath that in smaller letters is, "We can sell your home." Chad Lummis, who leads Casper's Caldwell Banker, the Legacy Group franchise, and the Lummis real estate team, told Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck that he believes there could be a new wave of response after last night's debate between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris.
There's a real estate broker in Casper who was getting kind of bored with his billboard messaging earlier this year. So in April, he decided to get out of the box and do a little bit of political satire. So he had a picture of President Trump and President Biden side by side. After President Biden dropped out of the race, that billboard continued for a couple of weeks, but he just changed it to have Kamala Harris as the photo beside President Trump. He said he's got actually sold 2 houses because of the billboard.
Lummis believes everyone who sees the billboard understands it's political satire and is very neutral. It doesn't take sides and assumes that no matter the outcome, some people are going to be so fed up they just want out of America. When it comes to U.S. Senate races this year, there are none more pivotal than the matchup between Democratic U.S. Senator Jon Tester and Republican challenger Tim Sheehy in Montana. Politics reporter Leo Wolfson says that in Wyoming, this close battle being waged by its northern neighbors has major implications.
Especially northern Wyoming communities like Sheridan. A lot of these people I spoke to travel up to Montana quite frequently to do business, and they pay attention to what the politics are. One gentleman pointed out to me that all the TV stations are based out of the Billings market. So anyone who watches local news is kind of naturally paying attention to what the news is in Montana.
The biggest impact of all for people in Wyoming are some of the national implications of the TesterShei race. Republicans are likely to gain a seat in West Virginia with former Democrat Senator Joe Manchin stepping down, which puts the Senate at a 50-50 deadlock. And 23 years ago today, the foundation for all Americans was shaken. The World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and a field in Pennsylvania are all forever marked by the tragedy that took place on September 11, 2001. On that date, at that time, Cowboy State Daily editor Jimmy Orr was serving as Director of Digital Strategy and a spokesperson for President George W. Bush. That means he was in the White House when the world as we knew it changed forever.
Sirens go off in the White House. Secret Service agents are running up and down the halls, bashing on the doors, telling us to evacuate. And so, we all got up and we're running out onto the White House lawn. I remember very well, the north lawn of the White House, running out. All of us are just running as fast as we could. The Secret Service agents are yelling at us. There's a plane headed for the White House. Just seeing the herd of people running out of the White House to Lafayette Park is where we ended up. The whole experience was surreal and tragic. I don't know else how to explain it. Of course, it's a memory you'll never forget. It's a memory that nobody wants to forget. Nobody wanted to be a part of it. But I think it's really important that we remember it.
And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.